Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin It Reviews, and today I'm going to be making my grand return to real reviews with the new album from Bloc called Hymns. Over the last few years, this British indie rock band's quickly become one of my favorites. Back in 2012, I heard all these buzz about these guys coming back. I heard the song Octopus, loved that, got the album 4, fell in love with that, and since then I've grown to really love all of this band's output. I stress that because from what I've seen, Bloc tends to get unfairly labeled as a one-album wonder for their 2005 debut, Sound Alarm, and don't get me wrong, that's a great record, a real kind of gem in that dancey, punky, indie rock sound of that time, but not only do I not think this is the only good Bloc Party album, I don't even think this is the best Bloc Party album, though I can kinda see why some people would think that, since they're one of those bands who totally changes things up and experiments every time around, but in my opinion, they've always made it work, from the atmosphere and quiet, loud dynamic on Weekend in the City, to the hard-hitting electronics on Intimacy, which has honestly turned into an all-time favorite of mine, to their last album, 4, which doubled as both impressively diverse and surprisingly heavy. Couple that with frontman Kelly Okereke's last solo album, which saw him going into house and R&B territory, and yeah, I had no idea what to expect from them next. Though I did have reason to be concerned, since over their last hiatus, they lost their original bassist and drummer, which was troubling because one of Bloc Party's most consistent traits was having one of the tightest and smartest rhythm sections in modern indie rock. And I gotta be blunt, it's only a month in, but as far as discography drop-offs go, Hymns might be the most disappointing album I hear all year. While 4 re-established Bloc Party's importance and vitality as a band, this follow-up has next to no reason to exist, other than act as something for the band to promote while they're touring the festival circuit. Now going back to that rhythm section, there are times when a band loses a drummer, comes back, and that part of the band can still hold its own and be as dynamic as ever. This is not one of those times. Like, if albums could have auditory titles, this one's would be on loop for 4 minutes. And that's when there are drums, unlike chores like Fortress, where Kelly's just whimpering into a lazy 808 preset. And this kind of leads to my little conspiracy theory about Hymns, that this was intended to be another Kelly solo album, but they just decided to squeeze it under the Bloc Party name in the hopes that it'll get more attention. I say that because this is by far the least amount of guitars or instrumental interplay that you'll find on any Bloc Party album, and I'm not saying that not following the standard rock mold is inherently a bad thing. Again, Intimacy is my favorite of theirs, but for all of Intimacy's sonic eccentricities, it still felt like a band was writing it. Like, even if in its softest moments, it still was engaging and daring to go into new territories. Hymns, on the other hand, is lifeless, aimless, and indulgent in all the wrong ways, namely songs like the unfortunately representative lead single, The Love Within, where they surround an otherwise pretty solid chorus with what sounds like a contest for who could find the most grating synth tone imaginable, with a bridge that sounds like its own G major version. And it's just as underwhelming when you look at the most of the lyrics on this thing, which are just a rehash of the insecurities in relationships theme from Intimacy, with a couple vague religious references thrown in to sound cool and subversive? So moving into something more constructive, how would I go about making Hymns work? Well, ask Kelly himself, who says on the song Into the Earth, "Rock and roll has gotten old, just give me neo-soul." Now, I'm obviously not taking this literally, but some of the best moments here are when they capture a kind of muted soulfulness, which an emotive vocal presence like Kelly can pull off. In fact, Into the Earth, as well as The Good News, are good examples of this, going for more of a vintage rock flavor that injects the album with some much-needed instrumental texture. Meanwhile, So Real and Virtue, in addition to being pretty lyrically strong, are also two of the catchiest songs here, helped by some great bouncy, syncopated bass lines. And even on the less directly upbeat side, I've really grown to like the monk chants and sentimental message in Only He Can Heal Me, and coming from someone that plays in a church band and has gotten pretty jaded to worship songs, I can actually see this unironically working in that kind of vein. Now, all this being said, I'm not going to repeat the statements of ignorant fans and say that Bloc Party should just regurgitate Silent Alarm for the rest of their careers. Their last 4 albums have shown that Kelly and the guys, or Guy in this case, are extremely talented, well-rounded musicians that make genre hopping look easy. I just wish they'd regain their motivation to push boundaries, instead of slogging in this awkward middle ground between Bloc Party's softer stuff and Kelly's solo work that doesn't appeal to either strengths. So I'm going to give Hymns a very light 5, with an admitted bias because I love this band so much. For those interested in Bloc Party, this is not a good place to start, and let's pray it's not where they finish. So if you guys have heard this album, what do you think about it? Do you agree with what I say? Do you disagree? Have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to stay civil. Share this around with anyone who might be interested. Like my Twitter and Facebook page in the description down below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin It Reviews. Bye.